Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Atish. And greetings to my co-panelists. Greetings to Amit Agnihotri. Congratulations once again for hosting successfully this conclave. And to my friend and co-author Rajesh Chakrabarti also for hosting this event at MDI. I apologize for not being there in person, but you may have heard that Hyderabad has experienced a cold wave, and we've seen temperatures that we have not seen in 100 years. You know, I would have loved to be there. Let me quickly share my screen because I just wanted to share some personal experiences with you. And I'll try and keep it to 10 to 12 minutes as I was asked to do. So basically, you know, if I were to state the problem, I hope you can all see my screen. If I were to state the problem, it would be, you know, as Professor Shah has just said, you know, students are our partners. And how do we leverage the enthusiasm and the energy of these youngsters while maintaining the academic integrity of the program? So this is the key issue, I think, that we are facing today. Students are ever more enthusiastic. They want to play leadership roles in all aspects of how a business school is run. And we need to, on the one hand, you know, harness this enthusiasm and energy, and at the same time, make sure that the academic integrity of the programs is not compromised. So what I'm going to say applies obviously only to degree programs. We can be a little more flexible when it comes to non-degree programs. So the first question I want to pose to you is, do students know what they don't know? Okay, let me share with you very quickly an experience. When I was at ESA Business School, I was the director of the global EMBA program, and this program admitted students with approximately 15 years of work experience, so close to 40 years of age was the median age. And we used to do a very interesting exercise in this program. We would ask the students at the start of the program to share with us their expectations of the program. And 18 months later, when they graduated, we would share with them the sheets of paper on which they had actually written down their expectations and ask them if the program had met their expectations. And what we found was actually very surprising. Many students told us that the expectations that they had written down did not matter to them anymore, that they did not relate to these expectations anymore, and that they had discovered many new things in the program that they had not even thought about, or that they did not even know at the start of the program. So this was actually a revelation for us. And the implication of this is that students don't always know what they don't know. And if we go strictly by what they want at this point in time, we may actually be doing them a disservice by not giving them, you know, something far richer that we know that they can learn. The second implication is, obviously, what they need is not always what they want. And if you then go and look at the theories of learning, what our students at ESA experience is what would be called double loop learning, right? So sometimes students are focused on single loop learning. They have existing preferences. They want to fulfill those preferences in a business school experience, right? But I think any educational institution, not just a business school, has the potential of getting students and participants to question their most basic assumptions, to discover new preferences, to understand themselves better, right? And I think this is what we mean by double loop learning, right? So this was actually an eye-opener for us. And we became determined to actually have a strong say in how the curriculum was developed. The second experience in this that I want to share with you, I title "Beware of the Vocal Minority." Okay, So we know that in all aspects of life, the people who are the most vocal don't necessarily represent the voice of the majority. And the same is true of the student body. So I took our students, about 60 of our globally MBA students from China, on an overseas immersion experience in the US, something that is now very common amongst business schools. It was a 1-week experience. And our host was an Ivy League university, an Ivy League business school. And we had 2 days at this business school. And both days, on each day, a very experienced professor would deliver sessions to us, to our students. So the first day we had a very eminent and experienced professor delivering a session. And about 90 minutes into the session, one of our students during the coffee break approached me and said that they didn't find the content very relevant for them. And they wondered, based on what they had read about this professor's profile and his research interests, whether he could actually address a different topic well within his scope of teaching. And I, at this point, committed a blunder. I assumed that this student's request was a reflection of what the entire class was feeling at that time. And I went and respectfully shared this feedback with the professor during the coffee break. And the professor, being a very versatile academic, quickly switched to a different topic after the coffee break. He announced to the class that he had received this request and that he was changing the topic. At the end of the day, I received a number of complaints from the students because they said that they had found the original topic to be of great interest and relevance for them. And they were very upset that flow had been truncated by this intervention. Okay, so the views of the student representatives do not necessarily represent those of the whole class. And this is true even when representatives are elected members of student committees. So it is incumbent upon us to make sure that any suggestion coming from the student body actually has widespread acceptance in the student body. And of course, we have all been through, as academics, we know business schools are particularly good places for fads. And ever since the WhatsApp university emerged, these fads have only multiplied, right? My own area of expertise, which is entrepreneurship, has been particularly susceptible to these fads. And in the last, I would say, 10 years or so, particularly in the last 5 years, it has become quite challenging, especially for young academics who teach entrepreneurship, to do so in a business school, because students, based on what they learn from social media, come to the class thinking that they know a lot more than they actually do. And there is a lack of respect now for deep research-based content. And there seems to be a kind of a fascination nowadays with stories told by successful entrepreneurs, even though they may be based on the experiences of a single venture, right? And of a single entrepreneur or team of entrepreneurs. So this is another thing that we need to be very, very careful about. Of course, these fads that I've listed here, I'm not suggesting that they had no merit, of course, right? Many of these had some very, very interesting ideas, embedded in them. But very often what happens with fads, as we all know, is that it's old wine in a new bottle. Okay, and sometimes you need to go deeper into what that particular fad is saying. Let me give you an example. In the lean startup, many of you, I'm sure, have heard of this, which is popularized by an author by name Rees. There is this concept of minimum viable product. Okay, it's a very interesting concept. And the idea is that you go to market as quickly as possible. Don't lose time, because especially in the tech industry, product life cycles tend to be very short. Now, the the idea itself is interesting, but the $64 million question is, how do you define minimum? And there, a lot of thought needs to go into, into thinking about it, into defining this minimum viable product. So these are some things that we try and, to try and address in the classroom. So I would say that, in terms of practical learnings that I have gathered through my experiences, I would distinguish between activities inside the classroom and outside the classroom. So I think, when it comes to inside the classroom, it is imperative for faculty members to maintain control of curriculum design and the curation of content. And student reps can, of course, play a role in helping faculty maintain the code of conduct on campus. Inside the classroom also, Professor Shah mentioned the honor code at Stanford University. I did my PhD at a university called the University of Virginia, the Darden School. The University of Virginia actually pioneered the honor code, or was one of the pioneers of the honor code. And I did not write a single exam when I was a student at the University of Virginia that was invigilated. Even take-home exams, even closed book exams could be taken at home, right? As long as you signed that statement saying that I have not received nor given, help in this exam. Students can be asked to share experiences with their classmates to enrich the learning experience in the class. And if professors want to invite guest speakers to the classroom, students can be consulted so that the most appropriate guests are brought into the classroom. Where students can play a more of a leadership role, in my view, is outside the classroom. And here, of course, you have clubs which are mainly student-led. And here, the faculty members can provide support, but it's a good idea for these clubs to be student-led so that they can also learn to exercise the leadership skills for the benefit of themselves and their classmates. They can organize competitions on campus, such as case competitions, startup pitching competitions, innovation competitions, and so on, and approach corporate sponsors to support these competitions. And placements, they can play an important role in the placement process. So in summary, I would say the energy and enthusiasm of students is a very valuable resource, and we should harness it properly. It is unlikely that students will have the knowledge or experience to have a say in what should and should not be part of the curriculum. And there, I think we should be firm. And I would say many students actually understand this, right? They look upon faculty members as authority figures. And when the faculty members actually cede too much ground to the students, several students actually are unhappy with that. I have experienced that. To the extent possible, curriculum and content should be largely decided by faculty, of course, with periodic peer review from external parties. And students can take leadership roles with faculty guidance in outside the classroom activities. I would welcome to hear the views of the other panelists and look forward to the Q&A session. Thank you so much.